This is a Niagara vineyard. We planted this about 15 years ago, Kathy and I did. And one of our biggest selling wines and bulk juice is Niagara. So we have 30 acres of them on this farm. And right here, what you see now is these are the buds that are coming out of dormancy now. So you see this is the primary bud. And that little one right there is a secondary bud. And what that is, that's a backup for the first bud. If we should have a frost and that bud would die, this one here would be a couple days behind. That would give you possibly a third of a crop. Now, on a lot of occasions, both of these will produce fruit. So if everything goes good, there's going to be a real nice crop of grapes here. Here you see two buds at the same stage right here. So we'll have probably 4 bunches of grapes that might grow off of that particular 2 buds right there. If we get a couple days of warm weather, these are going to open up and you're going to see growth, green tissue coming out of which is going to be the beginning of the leaves. And they're going to grow about 4 or 5 inches. Then you'll actually see the actual bunch of grapes starting to come out and starting to form. So this is a very important time of the year. So we really need some nice sunny weather right now and some nice nights. Looking at the vines, are all pretty healthy. Guys did a good job pruning them. They always do. They really take it to heart when they do, because this is their livelihood also. Things are looking really good in the Niagara vineyards right now at Mobilia Fruit Farms and Arrowhead Wine Cellars. This vineyard is a Niagara vineyard. This is planted 6 years ago. This used to be one of our big cherry orchards where we had pick your own cherries. Well, as that business started to decline, we had a couple bad frosts that really injured the trees. Kathy and I decided it's time to take it out. So yeah, we do 30 some acres in Niagara. We'll probably do like 300 tons of grapes just in the Niagara variety. And that's a nice white juice, and it's very popular for a sweet white wine along the Great Lakes. The canes are starting to grow, and you can see the fruit, the bunches of grapes now are developing. So they haven't bloomed yet. If you look at them real close, you'll see like a real tight cluster. In another 2 weeks, they'll get bigger and they'll just open up, and then that's the flowering part. But what we're seeing here now is a little concerning, is there's a lot of fruit on here. I haven't seen this in a long time. There was this one shoot here has 5 bunches of grapes on it. 2 are normal, 3 is all right, but we have 5, and we're talking about the secondary shoot, which is these little ones on the base. So if something happened to the main shoot, say it froze, well, the secondary shoot would grow. But right on this one here, the secondary shoot is growing, and you're going to have a bunch of grapes there, which is 1. You have 2, 3, 4, and you're going to have a small bunch right there on the end. We had a couple days of almost 90-degree weather last week, and they grew a couple inches in one day. So from here on out, we just need nice, warm, dry weather. Well, right now we're walking through, and we're planting dippers. So if we're missing a vine over here, when you prune, you just leave a long cane like this, and you can bring it over here and dig a hole and bury it and bring it up to the wire. Then the bud that's underground will start to grow roots, and it'll grow a vine right here. Then next year, you cut it off here, and you cut it off the mother vine, and then you just tie it up and it starts to grow. So the other thing that we do, we walk through the vineyards and make sure everything's fastened to the wire. So as you get a crop on, they don't fall on the ground. We're going to be doing some suckering, because you don't want a lot of the suckers growing because it takes a lot of the energy. But if you want to renew this vine, see how it's getting a little crown gall right here, what you do is just leave that sucker alone for about a month. And then you can come back here and you can tie it up to this wire. Then next year you can cut this vine out, and you'll have another new vine from the base right there. These are called Japanese beetles, and what they do is they eat tissue on the leaves. So what they do, they take that leaf and they'll just eat everything but the center part. And the trouble with that is the grapes need leaves to ripen the fruit and survive. This is how the vine breathes It absorbs the moisture and all the nutrients to go to the fruit. So if we don't address this, they could strip the top of the canopy and just keep moving through the farm. Look at this one here, Jen. There's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's probably 30 of them right there on that one cluster. You can see what they're doing to it. They're just sucking the life right out of the plant. So this leaf, if they, we don't stop them soon, this leaf will be worthless. I haven't seen them this bad though, and I think maybe because it's so dry. Come down here and look at this one. Look at them right there. See them just eating away on those poor leaves. It's Mother Nature. They're bugs, and they need to eat, and they live, and they reproduce just like all the other bugs do. It's just unfortunately that they want to go after the vines, and we can't let them do that because we need the leaves to ripen the crop. We're going to put an insecticide in it. We're going to go spray every third row just to get it in the air, just so we can kill this population before they start moving through the farm. Before we talked about the vertical shoot positioning system. So what we do is we take all the shoots and we manually put them in between the wires, because we want the fruit to be exposed to the sun, but we want the leaves to grow toward the sun, because it takes like 20 leaves to ripen a bunch of grapes. So we go through here, and most of them will grab the wire with their little curly cues. Do you see this right here? Okay, that's natural. That's the vine just grabbing onto something to help support itself. So all we had to do in the beginning was just come and get them going between the two wires. So we want all the canopy to grow straight up toward the sun. It's easier to spray that way, and the fruit is down here exposed to the sunlight, to the wind, and to the rain. This is what you want to do. You want sunlight on your red hybrids. So what we're doing on this row is we're doing an experiment, because this is a lot of work to do this. So I had the guys come here and say, all we're going to do over here is just remove the suckers and take all the fruit off except one bunch per shoot. Okay, now we're not touching the fruit over here, but over here we want one bunch of grapes per cane. And we're going to monitor these throughout the summer, and then we'll do our lab testing by harvest to see which way is actually better. This is very labor intense, okay? This isn't as labor intense. You just tuck some of them. If this one here hangs out here, that's fine, okay? And then the fruit's still exposed to the sun, but you have to manage the crop load on Chambers, because these will weigh like 3 pounds each, and you have to make sure that you got enough green tissue to support the fruit you have. With hybrid grapes, if you want to make a quality wine, you need to reduce the fruit load, because red grapes take longer to get ripe. We're not in California now. Everybody needs to remember that. Our growing season is shorter. Once we get to the second week of September, these vines start to shut down. So you lighten the load, the crop load, like we did here, and then you try to leave more leaves to ripen the fruit, and we'll see how well it works out. You can just see the difference in the canopies, okay? So these have twice as many leaves on them and half the fruit. This has more fruit with less leaves right now. Here's our test plot. We got 3 rows and an acre, so we'll try, and we'll just monitor it throughout the summer. The day we were looking at Niagara that had Japanese beetles on it. We haven't got to this vineyard yet, and here along the woods we're going to see what happens. So here they are here now. You look at the damage done to the leaf. They just eat all the tissue, and that leaf is basically no good anymore. Now here's 3 beetles here. We're here and they don't even care, and they're just eating away. But if you look at the damage on the leaves up here, you can see they really did a number on the top layer. So now the important thing is we'll come in here tomorrow, we'll treat these and kill these things off, and then we're going to keep an eye on them because they'll fall into the ground, and then we'll have to really hope that we get new growth. So you always have the new growth coming, but you don't want to lose your old growth because you need so many leaves to ripen a bunch of grapes. I think before we're talking about like 25 leaves per bunch. That's why this is unacceptable. And you can't have that. You can't let this go. This needs to be taken care of. Monday morning, we'll be out doing it. And it's just these like 5 or 6 rows on this end of the vineyard. But if you don't take care of it, they'll just keep migrating with the weather and just keep going east. Look at the amount of beetles on these 2 leaves here. I mean, they got all their family, they got their cousins and everybody else. And they can do a lot of damage in a day. So enjoy your food today because your time is limited. So these are our catawbas, and these make our pink catawba wine. It's our blush wine. It's really good. We didn't fertilize this at all, but there's just grapes everywhere in the Catawbas. These are a good 5 weeks out, I think, if we're lucky. This is our Norre vineyard, also known as a NY73. I mean, you look at the size of these bunches here, look how beautiful they are. So these are going to make a very good dry red wine. Look at the stage of ripening these are. You know, these, another couple weeks, these are going to be ready to pick. I've never seen these things that ripe this soon. Now, these are what you want to watch here when you have dead green berries with berries that are getting ripe. And we're going to wait for these to look like those, because these will ruin your wine here. They're going to lower your sugar. They're going to increase your acid. These are the Steuben. This is what we make like our blush wine out of. And once again, look at that bunch of grapes. Okay, and you give these another good 2 weeks, these will be ready. Look at the berries on there. Got a couple immature berries there, they're no big deal. But here, they're really coming along nice. Pretty uniform ripening. Once again, the canopy's good. We don't have too much trouble with bugs here. We had some Japanese beetles did their number on that one. Okay, we're over here now to GR7. This is another hybrid that we grow. And these are very characteristic of a Cabernet Sauvignon. Got some green ones behind, so these will be a month before we even think about picking these. But you come underneath here and you look at the fruit. They're just absolutely beautiful. And the guys did a fabulous job taking care of the canopy this year. Last year was a very challenging year. This year is the exact opposite. So the canopy's nice and green. We'll keep you posted when we get going with the machine. The time has come to pick all the grapes that we have been showing you for the last couple of months. So this is a mechanical grape harvester. This one here is a Corvan. It's made in Washington State. We straddle the row of grapes. The grapes go right down through here. These rods here, they go back and forth and they vibrate. We match our speed with the vibration and what it takes to get the fruit off the vine. Greg drives the harvester, so I'm on the phone to him and I walk behind the machine, tell him whether it needs to go faster or slower. We can move the head in and out to put a little more pressure on the shaking head. But the goal is just to shake gently to remove the fruit and not destroy it. So we shake the berries off and then they roll down and they fall in these little buckets on both sides of the harvester. Now the buckets are on chains and they roll in a circle, and they'll bring the fruit up to the back of the machine. But the grapes in the buckets, they come up through the slide here, and they'll go up here and they dump on 2 little conveyor belts. Now the reason we do that, because now we're shaking a lot of leaves off, so we want to suck the leaves and the petiole out here in the field. So there's 2 fans right there. And as they fall and they run under here, we're sucking as many leaves as we can get out of there. So the vans they're variable speed. They can go faster or slower depending on whether the leaves are wet or dry. Then they fall on this long conveyor and they come out here and there's 1 more fan. And we always try to catch the leaves when they're falling so there's no berries on top of them. This boom opens up and extends out over the next row. And then a tractor with the bins on, as you see over here, we have 3 tractors and trailers that pull 3 of these plastic lined bins alongside the harvester, and then Greg lowers this into the bin and we have an attendant stand there and he watches for extra leaves or anything else that might come out of the picker. One thing we do that a lot of people don't do is we mounted this 50-gallon tank on our picker, and what happens with the white wine grapes is as you pick them, as soon as you break the skin they start to oxidize. That means they start to turn brown. So what we do, we put a metabisulfite in here. We put a couple pounds in, dilute it with water, and then we ran a hose up here into the chute, and Greg has a switch, and a couple times during the filling of the bin, basically toward the top where the oxygen will be near them, we're going to coat all those grapes with that wine metabisulfite, and that'll prevent the oxidation and keep our juice nice and bright yellow and white. We'll watch this when we actually start picking, but let's go out in the vineyard now and look at the grapes and see how much they progressed. Okay, so what we do this time of year, we have the winemaker and our chemists. They're going to go out to the vineyards, and they're going to drive down a row and take samples down 1 row. They're going to label it. They're going to run down to the lab. They're going to grind them up and run a sugar test, a pH, and an acid. And then that'll judge where Greg and I go start picking grapes. This field here is Fredonia. These are ready to go. So you see they're mostly all pretty blue. Okay, we got a couple little red ones there. That may mean we may have to wait a few more days. The crop is beautiful. And a lot of times, you know, One thing that I noticed, grapes that are under the leaves are usually darker than the ones out in the sun. Now these are all been protected by leaves right here, and you look at how blue they are, and you look at these right here in the sun, and they're a little bit red. So when we take samples, we got to take samples of these too and blend them with these, and then we'll see what that whole row is. So if that's around, 14 to 16 brick, these are ready to go. These are Niagaras. This is actually the exact opposite of the red grapes. The ones that are lighted out in the open, you can see how yellow they are. So these are probably very high in sugar right now. I'd say those are probably 15. To pick up the canopy, and they are just solid grapes underneath there. So this is going to be, like I said before, like one of probably the best harvests we've had. The downside to this is we got to go slow when we're picking, because you got to give all this fruit time to fall onto the catching frame and get in the buckets and get over to the tractor. Not a bad berry in the bunch. Got to try it, see how it is. Ready to go. These are the Canadites. So these are seedless grapes. So these are probably ready to go also. One good way to tell if your grapes are getting ready is you look at these right here. Those are birds picking at the berries and sucking the fluid out because it's water and it's sugar. So once they start on a crop, you got to be doing your homework and get ready to get going. Look at the size of some of these bunches. That's going to make a nice juice for people to make wine out of. These are the Buffalo. Very similar to a Steuben, but these get much darker. But it's the same family of grapes. Now you can see these, how beautiful these are. So these are probably going to be ready within a week or two. They're probably ready right now, but look at the size of those bunches. Not a bad berry in them. What a great year to grow grapes. But once again, another way to see if they're any good is you eat them. Yeah, those are ready too. We'll be picking these very shortly.
They were picking diamonds for the winery. These will be juiced within a couple hours. They'll be all processed and done. They're going straight to the winery, and they're already down there processing what we've already picked. So we pick them right away and process them right away. Oh, the smell's wonderful. It fills up the whole town. We grow 16 different varieties, and you can drive around the farm and you'll smell the different varieties. Pretty unique. It's fun. I look forward to it every year. This will be my 25th year of picking. Something not a lot of people get to do. It's kind of enjoyable to pick the fruits of your labor from all year long. It's nice to have a good product turn out, and to be able to turn around and make our own wine out of it, sell it to our customers. It was a really good year. Grapes don't mind it, hot and dry. It's just so juicy and heavy this year. This is probably picking close to 12 tons to the acre. You can hear the horn blowing, so 2 times and 3 times is which box they need to be in. So we have our own little signals out here. Some guys run radio systems. We just use the horn system. Everybody has to be on their game. The guys got to be watching the shoot. I have to watch the shoot once in a row. Every broken post we have to fix. Every broken wire, so we got to sit around and fix whatever I break. So that's so I can see what's going on underneath the picker. I can also see straight down, but that's so I can see back in farther. A lot of times it's filled with leaves, but it's good like at the end of the row to make sure everything's doing what it's supposed to do. Pretty much it's 7 buttons, a stick, and a steering wheel. We're picking rain. As long as it's not torrential downpours, because the water will lower the sugar of the grapes. This machine catches everything. So if the grapes are full of water, it'll lower your sugar. We're picking normal rain. Monsoon rain will have to cancel. We usually pick right up last week of October, usually. Right around in there, we're picking some of our last wine varieties. These are diamonds. Going to Cayugas. We've already done some Vignoles. The next big one would be Concords. They're usually 3rd week, 4th week of September.